You have to be very mindful what you manifest. All right, the things you continue to talk about, the things you continue to bring on yourself. All right, because a lot of those things you're creating your own struggles. And where are your struggles coming from? Where is this difficulty in your life coming from? Your expectations. You set these unreal expectations about life, how your life should be, how you want, how you this, how you that. And when it doesn't go exactly as you choose, all of a sudden you're depressed. You have this anxiety. I hear so many people throwing out these trigger words. I have anxiety. What are you anxious about? You're creating stress. You're creating problems. You're bringing struggle into your own existence. You're manifesting your own struggles. All right? You are. You know, we joke about some things and we call them first world problems. No, they're imaginary problems. Sometimes you have to take a step back and realize life is what it is. Yes, there will not always be good days. Yes, there will be struggles. Yes, just like there's sun, there's always rain. That is what life is. And being depressed because you have a couple of rainy days, a couple of storms, that's not that you have a bad life. You are just living a life, and it is your choice. You're choosing to focus on the fact that it rains as opposed to the fact that the sun comes out after the rain. Okay? And when you look at life, a meaningful life, it's not about money. It's not about cars. It's not about status. Okay? A meaningful life without usefulness. Your contribution, like I always say about a meaningful life is, what are you bringing to life? People always want something for life, but ask yourself, what are you bringing? What are you adding to this soup of life? What seasoning? What flavor? What is your contribution? A lot of times in life, most people are looking to take. They want. They have all these expectations of what they want. But what are you bringing? What if you took a different approach to life and said, your purpose here is to actually bring, to give, to build, to plant, not to pick? Most of the problems that I see a lot of people have right now are self-imagined, self-built, self-imposed. And the crazy thing about it, the good thing about it is that you can stop. You can stop at any point in time once you change your perspective of what life really should be, what life really is. Like a quote, you're not given a good life or a bad life. You're just given a life. Okay? And life is a mixed bag of things. Okay? And it's up to you to decide what part of it you're going to focus on, the disappointments, right, or the blessings. What I always tell people is go through your life without expectations. Because the truth is you don't control a lot of things. So you expecting so much, you're putting a lot of stress and you're putting yourself in a bad position. Because you know what? When you're always looking to get, very rarely is anything ever going to be able to deliver everything you want. And now you set yourself up for disappointment because you know what? Let's assume you go in, you're about to open a present, right? Somebody gives you a nice present. And in your mind, you had asked for, you were expecting a 5-carat ring. And you got 3.5. All of a sudden now, you're not focused on the fact that you got a beautiful 3.5-carat ring. You're focusing on the fact that you were expecting 5, so you're disappointed. Meanwhile, someone else got 1 and they're elated. Was it the ring? Wasn't the ring, it was the expectations. Your expectations about your life and how you want to go interferes with your ability to just be grateful that you have a life, first of all, and be grateful for all the things that you have in your life. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to minimize people who have depression. But I will point out a couple of things to you about this whole depression, especially as it comes down to the United States. Depression and anxiety and all those things like that. The United States of America produces depression, manufactures anxiety. That's why, and you can look this up, the United States of America consumes well over 70% of all the depression drugs sold in the world. Why is that? Why is that? Ever thought to ask yourself? Is there something special going on here in the water? Or is what you've been conditioned to think about life? You know? Think about that. You know, and the reason why I'm having this conversation is because, you know, I just saw on CNN today that now the CDC is recommending that your children get tested for anxiety disorder at the early age of 5. Right? So obviously, if they have some kind of anxiety disorder, they can be put on medication. You know what happens when people keep using the word anxiety around you? You start using that word. You start applying it to yourself. And the crazy thing is about what you think and what you believe. Anything you think and believe becomes true. You'll actually believe you have anxiety. And once you have anxiety and you believe you have it, you have to take the medication. Because it makes my anxiety act up. I've never heard so many people use that word than in the last 3 to 5 years. Self-imposed. Self-imagined. Okay? Self-imposed and self-imagined. Exactly. Don't be a slave to foolishness. All right. Look around the world. Look at countries that are at war, famine, poverty. How come depression isn't so high there? But here in America, where a lot of people, let's be real, live better than 90% of the world. Let's be real. Even the people who are supposedly poor in this country live better than 90%, have access to more stuff. I shouldn't say they live better. They have access to more stuff. You know, warm homes, food, all those things like that. And yet we're so depressed. Isn't it because of what we've constructed in our minds about what life is supposed to be? Think about it. And ask yourself, all right, how much of that do you actually control? And I would say a lot of it. All right? A lot of it. When you start to let these people bleed into your brain about how you think, how you feel, how you should feel, and you actually start to repeat the taglines, be careful, once again. Those are some, like I always talk about, that your diet. Your diet is what? Not only what you eat, but what you listen to, what you watch, what you think. All right? And someone says, but don't you think severe environmental issues like COVID lead to sadness and isolation? Nothing leads to sadness. Your thoughts lead to sadness. Your perspective on a particular situation leads to your sadness. Nothing leads to sadness. Not even going broke leads to sadness. Not even having cancer leads to sadness. It is your perspective on it, how you decide to deal with it. It is not the weight, it is how you carry it. Look around the world. How many people are going through war, famine, abject poverty, atrocities? And yes, there are tough situations, but the moment they can extricate themselves from it, they're fine. And even through it, they live. I have the perspective of having grown up and seen war and been in some hard situations. And never once did I ever think of myself or view myself as being depressed, right? And yeah, sometimes you sleep at night and it's a little scary, you know. You're a little anxious about things, right? But yeah, I think you would be anxious too if you stood the chance of somebody breaking into your house and killing you. That's not imaginary. That's real, right? But I've seen people get anxious in this country about the dumbest of things. And they make it so big of a deal. Once again, your mind can make anything. Okay? I'll tell you guys a funny story. For as strong-minded as my dad was, right? My dad had a fear of rats. He didn't like rats. Okay? A rat would throw him off. Like he would, mind you now, this is a man who could pick up a snake. This is a man who, my dad was a very strapping man, right? But he see a little field mice about that size. He's not moving. He's not even going to step over it. Okay? Now this is a man I admire. This is a man who represents a symbol of strength to me. But in that particular instance, this is also a man who allowed his mind to get the better of him when it came down to something. It paralyzed him. The more he thought about it, the more paralyzed he became. Okay. Most of our issues that we have constructed a narrative in our minds to create the scenario for disappointment, for depression, for anxiety, for unhappiness, for sadness. We create our own stress. Okay? We do. The things that we imagine, things that we fear. All right? We talked about self-mastery yesterday. Mastery is amazing. And yeah, you know what? Some people don't get to master everything. Like my dad, he was a very, he mastered a lot of things. He never mastered that fear of rats. All right? And we all have some issues, but you know what? It's important to be able to recognize that a lot of our issues that we have, right? Many of them are self-inflicted. We create our own struggles. And here's the thing about some people. Here's a sad thing about some people in this world right now that pays attention to everyone, right? Struggle has become a lot of people's identity. Be very mindful with letting struggle be your identity. You don't want struggle to be your identity. All right? It's a bad place to be. When you allow struggle to become your identity. You meet those people and you don't even know them. For real, not like that. You don't know them like that. Within the first 15 minutes of meeting them, they've told you about, I'm depressed, I have anxiety. Sad, but people now are conditioned to seek sympathy, to seek that pet. Oh. And I don't mean any harm, but, I'm going to keep it a buck with you. A lot of their problems are imagined. We've made it bigger than what it is. They say taking a molehill and turning it into a mountain. Exactly. And the more you imagine that it's restricting you, the more it restricts you. The more of a struggle you make it for yourself, the more of a struggle it becomes. And it gets to the point where it actually paralyzes you. You need medication, and no matter how much medication you take, it's not enough. You curl up. Is the situation really doing that to you, or are you doing that to you? I would say well over 50% of that is you doing that to you. Don't get me wrong, there are some chemical imbalances that exist with people. That's why I tell people, you know what? Eat right, get your mind right, get out there, exercise, let your body release the chemicals the endorphins are supposed to do. Have some exercise, have some sex, have some friends, have some laughs. That's what life's supposed to be about. All right? Find some companionship. Stop creating problems for yourself that don't exist. Stop claiming conditions because it sounds cool. Because there's a whole world, entire world of pharmacists out there just waiting to write you a prescription for your imaginary anxiety, for your imaginary depression, for all your imaginary problems. And I'm not saying that some people don't have real ones, but I'm here to tell you, I guarantee you that most people do not. There is no way in the world, right, that you can truly justify to me that of a country that has 4%, let's say 5%, of the world's population, right, that we actually possess 70% of the world's depressed people? Really? You're being programmed for it. You're being prodded for it. You're being set up for it. Not even trying to set up your kids for it. And if you don't wake up, you will find yourself a mindless drone to every new gimmick. Because here's the thing, they don't stop. They don't stop. The same way how they've convinced, people who are overweight, right, that somehow carrying 40 or 50 pounds extra is cool. Why? Because they know it's going to lead to health problems. They make you justify. I hear people, I would look sick if I was that weight. I heard, I posted the, like I said, you create your own struggles. Because once again, if you're not willing to recognize a problem, a small problem, that problem festers. Just like being overweight by like 40 pounds, 50 pounds. It's a small problem in the beginning. You know why? Because it takes a while for that stuff to wear you down. 5'5" woman justifying that she should be 185 pounds. Well, your brain, your bone structure is not set up for that. And so, yeah, you might be cool with it for a while, but it's going to cause you a problem. I would look sick if I was 140 pounds. Would you? How many people have thought that Halle Berry looks sick? Does Halle Berry look sick? No. She's 5'5", 121. So you're 20 pounds heavier, female, same ethnicity, and somehow you're going to go look sick? That's imagined. Who put that imaginary thing in your mind? Let's take it a step up. 5'7", right? 5'7", trying to justify to me that 190 pounds. I'm a woman. I've had children. Okay. Beyonce's 5'7". She's 138. Let's just say 140. Yeah, she's had children, but guess what? She's also a millionaire. She has access to things. But are you really willing to justify 50 extra pounds? Is that what you want to do? And later on, when you start to have the actual problems that were created by your imaginary problem, your denial, then it's everybody else's fault but yours. Right now they're treating you like cattle. They're herding you into problems. And you're accepting it. You're accepting the fact that you're depressed. You're accepting the fact that you have anxiety. You're accepting the fact that even though you're not in good health, that you're fine. Now what is all leading to? They can have a firmer grip on you. And for all the people who like to imagine these things, right? If you don't believe in programming, because a lot of times what happens is we tend to forget. We weren't this size 25 years ago. Go back. I always tell people, there's always proof. Go back, right? And look at simple things like, I remember I like watching things like the Soul Train. Soul Train? Go back and watch Soul Train in the 70s, the 80s, and even the 90s before it was discontinued, right? Look at the size of the people. Before you try to justify, because you're black, you must be 50 pounds heavier, because we have more muscle mass naturally. You're creating your own struggles. You're creating the environment for your own diseases, your high blood pressure, your diabetes, your anxiety, your depression. You're buying into everything they're telling you. You're consuming their nonsense. You're creating your own struggles. So, something to think about. Look at yourself and analyze the things that you claim you're struggling with. Are they really struggles? Or are they due to either your delusions or your imaginations? Your expectations of this wonderful, problem-free life that does not exist. Be careful what you expect out of life. It might actually make you miss out on a very beautiful life that you have because you're expecting something so much more glorious that doesn't even exist for anybody. And I don't really blame a lot of people. Let's be real. Let's look at social media. Social media gives you this glowing story of people's lives. A lot of people's lives out there are shit. Nobody tells you about their struggles. Nobody keeps it a buck with you. Okay? Very few times do people tell you that when they're actually going through real hard times, right? And you know what it makes you feel like? It makes you feel like no one else out there is struggling but you. I'm the only one struggling. I'm the only one with problems. Struggle, storms, ups and downs, bad days. Those things are part of life. That's why gratitude is so important. Gratitude and perspective. All right. One of the keys to my happy life, I say the key to my happy life is gratitude and perspective. Okay? I'm grateful for what I have. I'm grateful for the opportunity to work for more. I'm grateful for the chance that I have these opportunities available to me. Perspective-wise, life could be worse. I couldn't have one. All right? I literally could not have a life. Perspective-wise, I'm doing better than most. Perspective-wise, guess what? No one guaranteed me anything. Whatever I have or don't have, I create. There's a certain level of power in that. Think about the fact once you recognize that you have been creating your own struggles, and as such, you can get rid of them. All it takes is a shift in the mind. That's all it does. and a realization of what life is really about. All right. Let's see. But anyway, something to think about, like I said. Maybe somebody asked me a question, I'm not sure. Let's see. Yep, there you go. And a lot of times, once you start to accept certain things, then people start to self-medicate. People like to self-medicate with drugs, they self-medicate with alcohol, they self-medicate with a lot of things, okay? And a lot of times, like I said, these problems start here. And once you start to do the work on the inside, you realize a lot of those problems you were creating on your own, okay? You were creating on your own. We have to change our habits. We have to change our perspective on life. We have to change our approach to life. We have to change our expectations of what life is. How do you start? You start thinking. I always tell people, right? You ever question yourself? My life is bad. Is it? Is it really that bad? Let's take a look at your life. What's so bad about your life? But before you start telling me what's so bad about your life, right? Let's start about what's good. Name me 5 things that are good about your life. Let's start off with the fact that you have a life. Are you in decent health? Okay. Did you have a roof over your head? Okay. Do you have a job? Some way to make money and feed yourself. Are you starving? Okay. Do you have the capacity to get work? Have you done everything you can do to get work? Have you done any work that's available to you? All right. What have you lost in life? And compared to everyone else, what is it that you're complaining about? I've seen people destroy their entire lives because, let's say they lost a parent. All right. My dad wasn't there, mom wasn't there. Da, da, da. Have you considered that a lot of people have had really functioning lives and never had parents at all? Does having a parent guarantee you a great life? Does not having one guarantee you a poor life? No. No, it does not. Sometimes there are advantages to having those things. Yes, of course. No one can deny that. But a lot of times we make the life we have with the things that we do and how we view our lives. It's like the 2 kids, right? One's an alcoholic and one's not. And you ask them, why? Well, because my dad was an alcoholic, so that's why I drink. And you ask the other one, the reason why I don't drink is because my dad was an alcoholic and that's why I don't drink. Same kids, same house, different approach, same situation. External things do matter. Internal matters more. It does. All right? It does. How you decide to deal. What you decide to take on as a struggle. What you decide to accept. How you decide to see it. All right? And yeah, it's very easy for people to say, stop doing that, So I don't want to come across that way. But I also want to let you know that, you are in way more control of those things than you give yourself credit for. And you may want to stop creating problems for yourself. Stop blaming the world. You may want to stop doing that. Stop identifying with struggles. As opposed to when you meet people and talking all the time and what's bad, what's going on wrong, what's good with you. Remember how people used to create, what's good with you? What's good? Don't tell me so much about what's bad. Tell me about what's good. Just talking about what's good with you changes your mood. What are you looking forward to? What are you trying to do? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? Where do you want to be? Stop being stuck on so much of where you are. Where do you want to be? What are you doing about that? How can I help you get to your next place? I know you're here now, but how can I get to the next place? That'll get you out of your rut. Focusing your attention on where you want to be versus where you are, where you've been. Okay? Leading off with your struggles. Wearing it like a jacket. All right? And don't get me wrong, I get it. It's addictive in the society right now. You know, being a victim, having struggle. Because they have all these people willing to pet you. And don't get me wrong, having people to understand the struggle and having people to talk to about it can be very beneficial. But it can also be very paralyzing because it keeps you stuck right there. It keeps you reliving it, recycling it over and over. And everybody you want to tell about what I've been through. What are you doing to get out of it? Because I'll tell you this much, and once again, I'm going to be very honest with you. No one cares about your struggle. Okay? The only people that really care about your struggle in those groups are the ones who are waiting to tell you about theirs. People care about what is your solution? What are you going to do? What are you trying to do? How are you trying to get out of this? All right, I understand that happened, but okay, what are you trying to do now? Have you made a plan to get out of this situation? Or when I see you 5 years from now, you're going to be still telling me about the struggle, the thing that happened 20 years ago that is still holding you back. Exactly. Thank you. I made a post about that. Who's that? That LL Cool J Bryce. There you go. The world don't owe you a damn thing. Okay? The world doesn't owe you anything. You owe. You owe tax. You owe rent. What are you putting into the world for taking up space and sucking up air? What are you going to do? Just walk around and complain the whole time? What are you adding? With all the skills, all the abilities, all the talent, like I said, God's greatest gift to you is your unlimited potential. Your greatest gift to God and the world is to maximize that potential. Are you doing that? Are you doing that? Tribe of Levi Zoe said you get what you put in. That's actually wrong. You see, that's another thing I'm going to tell you about the world, right? You don't get what you put in, all right? Because sometimes you put in, and the world takes and takes and takes, and you know what? They toss you a coin. Don't put in expecting to get out. When you have truly understood life, and this is a quote that changed my perspective on life, my role as a man. The man who plants a tree knowing that he will never eat the fruit nor enjoy the shade is a man who now has understood what life is. We have to stop approaching life as you get in what you put out. You get out what you put in, sorry. We have to stop approaching life that way. That leads to depression. That leads to discontent, because a lot of times we give so much. Imagine giving so much to people, sacrificing for people, and they don't even appreciate it. That'll make you depressed. That'll make you resentful. That'll make you bitter. Like my dad used to say, I don't give for thank you, I give for sleep. You give because that is what you should do. That is what you should bless the world with, your gifts. And hopefully you create certain energy that the world gives you something back. But if not, you did your part. Think about how many people have given for you, died in the process, and didn't even get a chance to see the end result. They didn't enjoy the fruit nor the shade. And you would not have the capacity, you wouldn't have the ability to be here doing certain things had some people not done that. Stop giving and expecting that you're going to get. Sometimes you do. A lot of times you don't get back exactly. You don't get back as much. A lot of times your sacrifice is not recognized until you're dead and gone. All right? A lot of times people live off of your blood, your sweat, your tears. That's life. But you know what it makes for? It makes for a great, great, peaceful death. Because when you're dying, you know you did everything you could, and that's all you can ask for is a beautiful death. There's nothing worse than heading into death and resentment and fear and being scared, being bitter. All right? Take a look at the things that you think you're struggling with and ask yourself, am I creating this? Am I feeding this? How can I change my perspective, my attitude, my outlook on these things to create a different narrative for myself and my life? And you will find that a lot of your issues are your fault. You've made it more than what it is. And the next step is, what are you going to do? Because once again, the world doesn't really care about your struggles. The world cares. What are you going to do next? It cares about results. The world cares about results. The world cares about triumph. Because we all are given struggles. We all have struggles. But we all don't triumph